Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this public meeting to order and welcome everybody here. I'd like to invite Trustee McCauley to do our acknowledgement of traditional lands and water, please.
Thank you, Trustee Hatfield. We acknowledge that we are on land and surrounded by water, originally inhabited by indigenous peoples who have traveled this area since time immemorial. This territory is within the lands honored by the Wampum Treaties, agreements between the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenni Lenape, and allied nations to peacefully share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Specifically, we would like to acknowledge the presence of the Huron-Wendat peoples in the Three Fires Confederacy, Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture while remaining committed to moving forward respectfully with all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis.
Thank you very much. With regard to attendance tonight, all trustees are present with the exception of student trustee Lynn, who sent regrets. He wasn't able to attend tonight. And we do have a special order of the day, and I'm going to call upon the director for that, please. And ask everyone to please stand.
We fondly remember our dear colleague and friend, Ninu Thurkal, who passed away peacefully on March the 5th, 2025, surrounded by her loving family. Her kindness, generosity, and unwavering positivity left a lasting impact on McWilliam Public School and to all who knew her within the GEC DSB. She had a remarkable gift for making others feel special through her warm smile, heartfelt hugs, and joyful spirit. Even during her treatment, she remained hopeful and brought light and laughter to all those around her. She often spoke about her deep love for her family with pride and joy, whether bringing home Subway sandwiches for her sons or sharing stories filled with gratitude. Her compassion extended to all. She never hesitated to help others, offering support to students in need, and thoughtful gestures like sharing her homemade soup or a healing aloe plant. Ninu taught us to live with kindness, with faith, and with joy, and her legacy of love will continue to inspire us and us at McWilliam Public School, as well as her GEC DSB family. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you, and on behalf of the trustees, our sincere sympathy to the family. Moving to item E, approval of the agenda, I would just like to point out item I-1, just to delete the word special, minutes of the board meeting, not special board meeting, that's just a copy and paste. And I have another one, and then Trustee Leclerc. And item N1, for clarity purposes, I would ask that we separate B into two items so that B would be the voting delegate and C would be the alternate. Everybody with me? Okay. Trustee Leclerc? As amended. Seconded by Trustee Cook. All those in support? That's carried. Thank you very much. Do we have any declarations of a conflict of interest for this meeting based on the approved agenda? Seeing none. I do need motion to convene into committee of the whole closed session to discuss property items, personnel items, and legal. I saw Trustee Burgess and Trustee Cook. All those in support? That's carried. We're recessing into private session and could be, I'm going to guess, maybe half an hour. Okay, thank you very much. We'll be back. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting back into order, please. Our public session meeting. We're on item H in our agenda, the Rise and Report from the Committee of the Whole. Trustee Buckler, do you have something to report?
Yes, I move H1 legal.
Thank you. Support, Trustee Burgess. All those in support? Any opposed? No, that's carried. Thank you very much. Item I is the minutes of the board meeting from March 18th. Would someone like to move? Trustee Leclerc, Trustee Cook? Anything on the minutes? All those in support? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Student trustee Traklakovich, would you like to take this on?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll be doing the report for Tiani today. Good evening, trustees, Director Houston, Student Administration, and members of the public. Plans for cultural celebrations are flourishing across our district this month, enriching our school communities. These include Culture Fest with artistic displays, multicultural events featuring diverse foods and performances, and meaningful observations such as Ramadan celebrations. Notably, Bell River has introduced a student cooking series that explores a variety of cultural cuisines, providing valuable educational opportunities while fostering inclusion and understanding. School spirit continues to strive through various engaging activities, including pep rallies, intramural competitions, and themed spirit weeks. Environmental consciousness is evident in the numerous Earth Day initiatives underway, from school cleanups and bulletin board projects to creative thrift stores and book swaps organized by student leaders. Charitable fundraising efforts are also prominent, with events like Dunks for Dialysis and campaigns supporting Ronald McDonald House demonstrating students' commitment to community service. As we approach the end of the academic year, schools are preparing memorable experiences for graduating students with prom and senior celebrations. The performing arts are vibrant with upcoming talent shows, theatrical productions, and coffee houses showcasing student creativity. Student well-being initiatives and activities fostering student-teacher relationships underscore a commitment to nurturing supportive school climates. We are pleased to report significant progress with the Student Nutrition Initiative at Colchester North Public School. The Nutrition Committee Ad Hoc Committee is conducting a focus group this week to gather insights on students' preferred food choices. We are also running a social media campaign to raise awareness about the importance of nourishment for the mind, body, community, and planet. We are excited to share that the Center of the Month is Arshia Zaman, a grade 12 student at Riverside Secondary School. Arshia is recognized for her outstanding contribution to Student Senate by taking on additional commitments. She says that the privilege to be a part of the Mental Health Committee and Nutrition Committee initiatives, along with every other aspect of Senate, has made way for my student council and school to be better, more inclusive space. I will continue to strive to make positive change within my school, board, and community. We appreciate the continued support of the trustees, Director Houston, Senior Administration, and our school communities as we approach the final months of this academic year. And then I will head into the Student of the Month. For April is Adam McCormick, a grade 11 student at North Star High School who is an outstanding role model for the theme of citizenship. Adam demonstrates exceptional citizenship through his generosity, dedication, and commitment to his community. He is a dedicated trooper with the 2024 Malden Windsor Arraignment Army Cadets Corps, where he participates in a variety of training activities, engages in learning, and develops valuable skills. He volunteers with the Corps during tag days, giving his time to support the cadets program, which provides leadership and citizenship training to youth in the Amherstburg community. This past winter, Adam took it upon himself to clear driveways for donations, raising over $400, which he donated to the Amherstburg Food and Fellowship Mission. Adam's willingness to help those in need demonstrates his initiative, strong work ethic, empathy, and dedication to his community. His sense of citizenship drives him to make a difference through volunteering and supporting those in need. Adam continuously looks for ways to give back to his community, such as donating toys to the local Legion. His commitment to service reflects his leadership, teamwork, and discipline, all of which are essential qualities of a good citizen. Adam's sense of citizenship inspires those around him, demonstrating that small, consistent actions have a meaningful impact on the community. Congratulations, Adam, for being selected by Student Senate for the Student of the Month for the April theme, Citizenship. I don't believe he is here, so I will be in touch with his school.
And our congratulations to Adam from the trustees as well. Trustee Burgess?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I just had a question about the student nutrition something or other committee. Is that a committee of the Senate?
Yes, so it's a ad hoc committee this year. We are donating a one-time payment with the Ontario Student Nutrition Program at Colchester North. So this Thursday, actually, we are going to, me and another committee member are going to Colchester North to do a focus group with, I think, a group of grade 5 students, and we are going to play a bunch of games, activity workshops, try to get their preferences on food choices and what initiative to implement at their school.
Thank you. I'm going to be attending a meeting tomorrow, and I'm going to quote that. That's a great initiative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the student trustees report? No? Okay. Moving on to item K, which is the chair's report, and I do have a report, a few items for tonight. The first thing on my list was to mention that we have a new education minister, Paul Calandra. But I would like to take a few steps back. If you recall, we had a parting gift from former Minister of Education Lecce when he provided us with a new regulation with regard to trustee attendance and electronic meetings. And then, and so for a brief period, we had Minister Dunlop, and I was, pardon? Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah. But during Minister Dunlop's time, I was drafting my concerns about the impact of this regulation. Didn't have a chance to go very far with it because then an election was called, and now we have a new Minister of Education. And I wanted to ask the trustees tonight if they would like to send a letter of concern for the impact of this regulation. It will, I have great fear that it's going to have a negative impact on our board by September. And I think a big point to be made is that this is not a condition under which we were elected. It was imposed midterm, and in my humble opinion, there is really nothing fair about it. So, Trustee Burgess?
Oh, by consent is fine. I don't know if you want a motion, but absolutely. I just want to say that that was going to be one of the focuses of the Advocacy Day as well. That didn't happen because it is going to have a great impact not only on this board, but subsequent boards. It's not an attractive position if it's built to fail.
Yeah. So I did report previously that I did have a conversation with the president of OPSPA to ensure that they were doing something at that level. And they are, and they're not letting up on that. However, I think it's time. I think it's time we send our own letter. We've not had an attendance problem ever, and it just needs to be said on behalf of our board, in addition to what OPSPA is doing. So, with consensus, then, okay, we'll draft something. Thank you. So now from this new minister, we have another new directive, which involves, you may have seen it from OPSPA, mandatory governance training for trustees and directors of education. It's mandatory. I didn't see the fine print that said that if you don't complete it, that you'll vacate your seat. It's probably in there somewhere, but it's mandatory to be completed by August 31st. Details were provided through OPSPA to all trustees. The email came April 10th, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention in case you missed it. So, in addition to the modules from OPSPA on your role as a trustee, this will be now something new to add on top of that. The other thing I'd like to talk about is our upcoming Health and Safety Week. That's coming up April 28th to Tuesday, May 6th. And of course, a lot will be going on for our board, and I would just like to take a minute to highlight that. So the first thing is the Workers' Day of Mourning, which falls on Monday, April 28th. And there will be a ceremony at our schools and our work sites, which will involve lowering of the flags as well as a moment of silence. And I appreciate that that's happening. And happy to announce, too, that a flagpole has now been installed at our board's facility services building, so they will be fully participating there. That's good news. We have health and safety education initiatives for our grade 9 students that will be taking place for at every secondary school during that week. And on Sunday, May 4th, there's a promotion for the Threads for Life campaign, which is an event that's going to be held at Malden Park to support families who have either lost their loved ones in their workplace through accidents, injury, fatalities, or from life-altering workplace accidents, injuries, or occupational illnesses. So that will involve guest speakers, ceremonies, a tree planting, and everyone's welcome. In conjunction with Fit Week, which also runs at the same time, May 5th through May 9th, this event will actually be a complement to the activities of Fit Week. And then on Tuesday, May 6th at Herman Academy Secondary School, they're going to be hosting 2 health and safety awareness presentations specific to our grade 11 and 12 students to help them understand their rights and their responsibilities in the workplace, which is something that is, I think, very necessary, and I'm really proud that we do that. And for the first time in our board's history, we will be issuing health and safety certificates to show appreciation of all our site-based joint health and safety committees. That's something new this year, and I think that's another very positive move by our board. And continuing on the actual Occupational Health and Safety Day, on Tuesday, May 6th, we will be sharing information with all our staff on our board's health and safety management system, rights, internal responsibilities, and duties to further build our board's health and safety culture. So many thanks to Tim Lozon, our health and safety officer, and his team and all the staff that go into putting all these activities together. And I would just like to acknowledge that I know this board takes health and safety and wellness of our employees very seriously, not just for 1 week, but all through the year. But I think that the focus of these activities are just spot on, and I really appreciate it. And on behalf of the trustees, my thanks to all the staff involved. I think I have something else. Yes, I have a save the date for trustees. Take Your MPP to School Week is coming up May 20th to the 23rd. And if any trustees are planning on trying to line something up with your local MPP, I ask you please to arrange this through the director's office. Don't just show up at a school with an MPP saying, hi, we're here. So please, if you're planning on doing that, don't do anything until you go through the director's office on this. The activity is welcome, but please do it appropriately through the director's office. Okay. And then last, I will just say that we have a special long weekend coming up, whether it's Passover or Easter or a celebration of spring, if it ever gets here, whatever your family does. I just wish everybody a happy and safe holiday weekend, even though it's supposed to rain and not be particularly warm. But you know what they say about April showers, they bring May flowers. So happy and safe holiday weekend, everyone. And that concludes my report. Any questions? Trustee Burgess and then Trustee McKinley.
Thank you for that great report. I just wanted to augment the thing that OESC that OPS was part of and Code is part of, etc., is going to be delivering the two-part mandatory PDPs, and we did get some detail on what it is. Part 1 is Essential Governance 2025. It's self-directed online modules. There's 6 of them. And Part 2 is Essential Governance 2025, and they're webinars, and there's 4 of those, including DPA audit, etc. So,
Yeah, so trustees just refer back to the email of April 10th that has all those details.
Right, all the information.
Yeah, okay. Trustee McKinley?
Yeah, I was just going to state, years ago, I remember doing a whole series of the OPS modules, and I got a certificate. So can we use that for credit toward these current ones? Because they're probably not a lot different. Okay.
This is new.
Nice try.
Yeah. And there will be a certificate, so you'll get another certificate. Yeah. There you go. Okay, the next item, L, is the director's report.
So I guess I'll start off with I can't wait to do 10 modules on governance. I'm not sure we'll have a session together. I may do them on my own. So we've experienced all 4 seasons in a single day. And somewhere it might be spring. As we head into the long weekend, we're hopeful that spring will finally decide to stick around for good. In the meantime, there's been no shortage of warmth and energy in all of our schools, from the science fairs, entrepreneurial showcases, to inclusive celebrations and national student recognition. April has been a month filled with growth, gratitude, and meaningful connections. So last month I had the absolute pleasure, very early in the morning, of joining with Superintendent Bell and student trustees Kiara and Tian Yu and MP Eric Kuzmarek for a special visit to the breakfast program at James L. Dunn, alongside the Ontario Student Nutrition Program at Southwest Region. If you have not seen the breakfast and snack program set up at James L. Dunn, I encourage you to go see it. I remember back 20 some odd years ago when I started at Century, we had a little wee closet that we prepared breakfast out of, and they have this lovely room completely dedicated to storage for all of their stuff. So together we helped to serve a delicious and nutritious spread. It included bagels. Somebody in the room is now an expert at making mango and strawberry smoothies, fresh vegetables and grapes, and greeting the students as they started their day. It was a very dreary morning, and the visit, although it was rainy and cold, it was a very vibrant reminder of the power of when a community comes together and providing a healthy breakfast to our students. On March the 21st, students and staff across the GECDSB proudly rocked their socks in celebration of World Down Syndrome Day, raising awareness and honoring the uniqueness, abilities, and accomplishments of individuals with Down syndrome. Why socks? Because the chromosomes are shaped like socks, and people with Down syndrome have an extra copy of the chromosome 21, making 321 a perfect day to celebrate with bold and funky footwear. As you know, I'm not a fan of socks, but I did make an exception. I pulled out a purple pair of Chasing Hazel socks from their foundation, and because some moments and some messages are just too important not to wear them with pride. Schools across Greater Essex came together to recognize Autism Awareness Day. We raised the flag here at the admin building and celebrate the spectrum through creativity, connection, and community spirit. At A.V. Graham Public School, the annual bake sale brought in a colorful spread of treats donated by students, staff, and families. And as part of the celebration, each member of the school community decorated a puzzle piece symbolizing unity, which were then assembled into 2 vibrant awareness ribbon displays, a powerful and a very heartfelt reminder that everybody does fit together. Had the pleasure of stopping by École Bellwood to check out their incredible grade 6 to 8 science fair, absolutely inspired by the innovation and the creativity on display. And the students at this age, if they already have the skills, it's going to be unbelievable to see what they do as they get older. This year's event featured 28 student-led projects with 45 different participants, and they each showcased an impressive application of scientific method to tackle real-world challenges from sustainable energy, water purification, to bias and perception, antibacterial solutions, and much more. One parent captured the spirit of the day perfectly and said, "I can say that my take-home was a feeling of being impressed by these kids and the projects that they've developed." Across the GEC DSB, our secondary students continue to achieve incredible milestones, whether it's in their academics, in the arts, or in their athletics. This month, we're proud to recognize 3 outstanding individuals whose accomplishments are making waves far beyond their classroom. Aidan McLean, Walkerville Collegiate Institute, congratulations for earning a coveted spot with the National Youth Orchestra for Canada in 2025. He will train with world-class faculty and tour the country as part of this prestigious ensemble, an incredible achievement, especially on his first audition attempt. Marcos Newman from Bell River District High School is headed to Hawaii in December to compete in the Tiki Bowl. His talent, his work ethic, and his leadership on the field have earned him this exciting opportunity to represent his school on the international stage. And Quinn Grant from Bell River District High School, proud to recognize as a winner of the ECP, our Enhanced Construction Program Outstanding Student Award, and he was honored for his academic excellence, his dedication to the trades, and consistent attendance. Quinn received a stiletto hammer from Milwaukee Tool as a symbol of his commitment to his craftsmanship and to his growth. Yesterday morning at Mount Carmel Blythewood, the school community witnessed a moment that will never be forgotten. Jalen, a bright, determined grade 5 student with cerebral palsy, has always participated in O Canada from her wheelchair, honoring the anthem in her heart. But yesterday, something changed. With the help of a brand new wheelchair equipped with standing technology, Jalen stood tall, independently for the very first time. After 6 years at MCB, as her classmates rose for the anthem, she joined, upright and beaming. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. It's a powerful moment. It wasn't just about standing. It's about her independence and her strength, and her unwavering support from her school community that celebrated the milestone with her. Thursday morning, Jalen's mother will be on AIM 800 with Mornings with Mike and Meg, if you could join in, to share the extraordinary moment that was experienced yesterday. And she'll be sharing the story and the impact that it's had on the family, as well as the impact that it's had on each one of us. Today, we're right up to the minute. Fresh off the press. Today, over 500 students from across Greater Essex came together for our second annual Black Joy, Black Excellence Student Symposium, and the atmosphere was electric. From music, storytelling, to a dynamic fashion show and powerful student-led discussions, the day was filled with activities, inspired pride, connection, and community. The room was bright, the words were bold, and the message was clear. Black joy and excellence deserve to be celebrated every single day, not just during Black History Month. Thank you to our Black Student Advisory Committee, the staff, and the community partners for creating a space where our students could be seen, heard, and empowered. And that young man that did that song and ran around the room with the microphone, I can't wait to see him when he's a little bit older, because he is certainly going to be something. I was sitting beside one of our community partners, and he said, I think that might be the next Eminem. As the rest of April quickly approaches, we want to take a moment to acknowledge some of the meaningful observances that are on the horizon. This weekend, we wish everyone a joyful Easter or Passover, and that's followed by Earth Day next week, a reminder of our shared responsibility to take care of our planet. And then we have our upcoming Administrative Professionals Day, where we will honor the dedicated individuals who keep our schools, our offices running smoothly each and every day, and we know we wouldn't be able to do our work without them. Thank you for the continued energy, the compassion, and collaboration that you bring to the board, and that we hope everybody enjoys a well-deserved long weekend filled with lots of rest, reflection, and renewal. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of the director's report? Always good to hear all the great things that continue to go on in our board every single day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have no staff reports for this meeting. Under new business, we do have the election of our OPSPA director, our voting delegate, and our voting delegate alternate. And I just want to take a minute first to provide some background here. Last year, changes happened because of the nonprofit legislation that required some changes to OPSPA's timing on terms, and it was recommended that that boards look to springtime to do their appointments, whereas most had done them at their organizational meeting. So this is our first time undertaking this new timeline. And I just wanted to clarify if there was any confusion, because Ms. LaBeouf and myself have spent a great deal of time on this to make sure that we have it, that we've interpreted all correctly for this meeting. So in our case, last December, we did have vacancy created because of the resignation of a trustee who held these positions. So there was a midterm appointment which filled a vacancy, but only for the remaining term. So the motion that we passed in December was with regard to Trustee Burgess to fill the position of OPSPA voting delegate for the remainder of the term. So according to OPSPA, as well as our motion, the remainder of that term expires prior to the AGM. So, as OPSPA has explained, and explained very well, the term of office for the director's position begins immediately after the AGM. So currently, Trustee Burgess is our director, who will represent us in that role at the upcoming AGM. Now we're required to newly appoint voting delegates for this year's annual meeting, and this position will end immediately prior to next year's annual meeting. So the voting delegate will be the one who votes at this year's annual meeting, and then will end immediately prior to yes. Yes. Thank you. So I just wanted to make sure that we know who's doing what. So I have quite a long correspondence from OPSA if there are any questions on that. But as with our December format, we will be looking at these positions tonight through nomination, just like we would do. So we are on A, which is the election of the OPSPA director for the 2025-2026 term of office, which begins immediately following the AGM. Trustee Burgess?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make one thing clear. In December, I filled a vacancy for director, not voting delegate. So I would be pleased
No, sorry,
to.
the motion was OPSPA voting delegate from December.
But we had to
You
do that too.
self-nominated for
We had to do that too.
OPSPA voting delegate.
So I would like to nominate Trustee McCowie for the OPSPA director for the 2025-2026 term of office. The first meeting is after the annual meeting. So it's in June of 2025, the first meeting of the Board of Directors of the newly organized OPSPA board. So I would like to nominate Trustee McCowie.
Okay. Are there, first, Trustee McCauley, do you accept the nomination?
I do, thank you.
Are there any other nominations for the position of our director to the OPSPA board? I don't see any. Congratulations. You have been acclaimed. And the first meeting is actually June 18th is the organizational meeting, and it will be online. It's only. Online only. It's not in person. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We did get from OPSPA a chart with all the meetings. So that one is online only. Okay. And moving on to B, which is the election of the voting delegate for this AGM. Trustee Burgess?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I would like to nominate Trustee McCowie for the voting delegate to assume those duties at the annual meeting and the regional meetings in this June for the year of 2025-26.
Okay. Trustee McCowie, do you accept that nomination?
I do, thank you.
I just want to point out, because it's just something that I feel personally about in terms of the expenses to OPSPA, but they do suggest that it might be the same person that is your voting delegate as well as your director, so that they aren't paying double expenses, but it's at the wish of the board. So I will just point that out, because it does get mentioned in the information from OPSPA. Anyway, any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, Trustee McCowie, you will be our voting delegate. And now we need an alternate voting delegate who, in the event that Trustee McCowie is not able to attend. Trustee Burgess?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I would self-nominate, and I could speak to 1 minute of it. I would self-nominate.
You want to speak to it?
Sure. We've actually needed an alternate at an annual meeting where somebody got really ill and wasn't able to do it. So, like at the last minute, strange thing, but it does happen.
Yeah. Well, it's not just for the annual meeting, but there could be special meetings during the year which require
all the regional meetings, all the rest of it.
Yes, right. Are there any other nominations for the position of alternate? Nope, seeing none. Thank you, Trustee Burgess. That takes care of that. Okay, moving on to our standing committee reports. The first one is from Policy and Bylaw Committee, and there are 3 recommendations in your agenda to consider. Trustee McCowie?
Sorry, just to be, are we splitting them into 3 separate ones?
You can request it.
I'd like to request that we consider them separately.
Okay, so we're looking at the first one, that the board rescind policy and regulation with regard to vandalism and theft. Someone like to put that on the floor? Trustee Cook, Trustee McCowie. Any discussion? Oh, seeing none. All those in support? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. The second one, that the board approve policy and regulation, gender identity and gender expression in schools as presented. Trustee Cook, Trustee Buckler, that's your name. Sorry. Okay, are there questions on this one? Trustee Armstrong?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Through you, Madam Chair. I had some questions on this that I have previously submitted to trustees, but I have not heard any information back. So my questions are of concern with why this policy was developed to begin with. In my past many years, I have heard that an adult keeping a secret with a child, it sounds like, don't tell your parents, it's between you and me. And that has always been a red flag. So I'm wondering what makes this different. And second, let me continue, please.
You can do one question.
Well,
You could have one question on this policy. Your question is?
where is the safeguard for the child that, how will we know that caring adults are the ones supporting this? What's the safeguard for the child in case it turns
Could you
dark?
refer us to the policy part that you're talking about, please?
It would be page 12. Staff must keep a student's gender identity confidential and not disclose it to others.
Okay.
So I'm wondering what the safeguard is for the children in the keeping of a secret to their parents, because that in my past has always been a red flag.
Trustee Leclerc?
So, through you, Madam Chair, the rationale is quite simple. We have a duty and a responsibility to protect the child's well-being, physical well-being. And there are certain circumstances in which, if we were to disclose this information, it's not about keeping a secret. It's about engaging with the child to understand where they are in their journey and of their life, and protecting their personal security, because there are circumstances, and I've dealt with this personally in my former career, where some cultures are unaccepting of gender identification changes, and it could be very harmful for us not to protect the child. Now, that doesn't say that we won't assist the child in their journey so they can get to the point where they want to disclose this to their parents. But we, as Canadian citizens, are not in the realm or have the responsibility of outing people. We just don't do that in our country. So this is not about keeping a secret. This is about protecting the child and reducing their risk. That's what this is about. We do not out children. We protect our children. We journey with them in their discovery and assist them in getting to a point where they can reveal to their parents in a safe way. The other thing I want to point out about this policy is that we have to have this policy for that particular reason. But the reality is, this is a policy that is probably very rarely used, because in most circumstances, a child is already going to be in that journey with their parents. But in the rare circumstances, and I say rare, and I think the Director of Education could probably speak to this, in those very rare circumstances that the child is fearful of physical or mental harm, we, as a board, have an obligation to protect that child. Thank you.
Okay, and I would just add that it's at the child's request. And
Supplemental?
is it on the same topic
Yes.
exactly?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Trustee Leclerc. You have given me information that I have been looking for that no one got back to me with, but I do have one further question. Suppose the adult who the child is confiding in has a dark agenda. Where's the safeguard for that child? How will we know?
I think that's a hypothetical question that nobody can answer. I don't see how anybody could answer that question for you here tonight. And I don't know what you expect in terms of an answer for that, but you've asked your question. Unless the director thinks there's an answer to that, I don't see that there is. So next is Trustee McCauley with a question, then Trustee Chin, then Trustee Burgess.
This is a point for information, actually, but
Okay, your point?
is straight from the MFIPA, the Municipal Freedom of Information and Privacy Act, and the purposes of the act and institutions, all institutions. And it's under 1B, to protect the privacy of individuals with respect to personal information about themselves held by institutions, and to provide individuals with a right of access to that information. So it's individual to individual. It doesn't say individual to parent and or whatever.
Okay, on the policy, Trustee McCauley.
Thank you, Trustee Hatfield. So I would like to move to refer this recommendation from Policy and Bylaw back to the committee for further discussion and development. And as the mover, I'd request to reserve the right to speak to the motion first.
Is there a seconder for the motion? Trustee Nelson on the motion to refer it back. Trustee McCauley.
Sorry. Thank you. So first and foremost, I'd like to take the opportunity to extend sincere appreciation to the senior team and staff, members of the Policy and Bylaw Committee, community stakeholders, and any individual who contributed to the consultation process. Fundamentally, however, I believe that the current draft of the regulation does require further revision. Specifically, the language framing this as an accommodation is not as clear as framing it as inherent and absolute rights, which may lead to confusion and does not adequately reflect the legal protections that is afforded to students under the Ontario Human Rights Code and the Education Act. And I believe this mischaracterization could inadvertently undermine the rights that it does aim to protect. Moreover, the regulation does lack a clear articulation of its purpose. As a public living document, it is essential that it communicates the rationale behind its existence in a manner that's both accessible and understandable to the general public. The regulation should explicitly state that its development is to ensure compliance with provincial legislations and directives like the Ontario Human Rights Code, the Education Act, Ministries of Education's Policy and Program Memorandum numbers 119 and 144, which relates to bullying prevention, and the development and implementation of equity, inclusive, and education policies in Ontario schools, respectively. These frameworks establish the foundation for this regulation, which was not developed independently or arbitrarily by the board. I also propose that the committee revisits the regulation with an aim to address these concerns, and the revised document should also further reevaluate the language used, ensuring it accurately reflects the rights of our students, considers the practicality and necessity of the regulation, given that many of its components are already addressed in existing provincial legislation and guidelines, clarifies procedures regarding documentation and confidentiality, particularly concerning the Ontario student record, to ensure consistently with legal requirements and best practices to support the well-being of our students, provides guidance on parental involvement that balances the rights of students to privacy with the benefits of family engagement, offering resources, counseling, and support to facilitate appropriate communications. I recognize the importance of thorough consultation and the challenges that it might present. However, I think it's imperative that we take the time to ensure that any policy or regulation that we implement is thoughtfully crafted and implemented to, again, really reinforce our vision of building tomorrow together. So, thank you.
On the motion to refer it back to the committee,
I would just request that that be submitted in writing for us.
if it passes,
So that the policy,
if it passes, it will.
passes.
Don't jump in here. We haven't voted yet. Sorry. No, we're talking about the motion. So it was Trustee McKinley on the motion. Trustee McKinley.
Thank you, Chair. Just like to say, I like the idea of referring this back. This framework you're talking about, I'm assuming it sounds much like what a policy statement would give, and we currently only have a regulation. So we don't actually have a policy statement to go with our regulation, and most of our regulations have a policy statement. So if that framework of explaining further helps parents to understand the purpose of it in the first place, because I think many have been maybe misunderstand. I'm in favor of moving it to the policy to see, and if you have the rest of your ideas, I would hope they would also go to policy committee to help them, rather than not have that information and we're back here again. So I'll support that motion. Thank you.
On the motion to refer, any other questions? Trustee Chin, on the motion to refer it back to the committee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I support to refer that motion back, that policy back to the committee. Cause we did have a large consultation, and the result and is not clear. We don't know the result of that, and what's the consultation, and what's the effect of the consultation on this policy. So,
A point of information, Trustee Chin, the consultation was used by administration to draft the regulation.
but I think as trustee, we have right to know what's the result of the consultation. And as far as I know, many people are against of this kind of policy. And
Point of order.
Sorry,
Point of order. I don't
Yeah.
think that's on the.
we're
Yes.
talking about referring it. So you're saying that you are supporting the referral.
yeah, I
Okay,
haven't
but-
haven't finished yet. I haven't
Okay,
finished
but you're
yet.
not discussing the policy.
Uh,
No,
I-
you're
I'm talking
discussing-
about the reason that I refer it back, and I'm sure that the word that there is no age limitation is not correct.
So you
'cause-
can submit your concerns on the policy to the committee. This is just to discuss the motion to refer it back. So-
Yes, I am saying the reason of referring it back. I do have a question, point of order question. Why certain trustee have right to make large, long-term, explanation to answer the other trustees' question? Well, we don't have, we don't have enough
That's out
time
of
to.
order, Trustee Chin. And so we're going to move to, I think Trustee Leclerc had his hand up about the motion to refer.
Okay, then, okay, I will have the question regarding the motion also, main motion. Thank you.
Trustee Leclerc?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, and with respect, I won't support the referral. Quite frankly, I think that this is a very divisive issue. It's quite clear it's divisive, and I think we just need to move forward. The work's been done at policy. The work's been done by administration, and I think we need to get the policy approved, the regulation, sorry. As I indicated earlier, it's a regulation that is going to be very rarely utilized particularly the controversial portions of it. So I would just like to move on so we can focus on other business.
Okay. Just to be clear, the regulation is in place as a guide for administration and our staff on how to apply the topic of the regulation. So that's the purpose. Anyone else on the motion to refer? Trustee Armstrong, then Trustee McCowie.
Just a question further to what Trustee McKinley said. Why do we not have a policy? I'm a little green on this topic.
I don't know the answer to that one. It's a regulation to help guide staff. Don't know why it needs to be a policy. I think we have lots of administration's regulations on all kinds of topics on how things are handled throughout our system. This is just one of them. Right. It's right. No, we have lots of regulations that guide our school board. This is one of many. They don't have to have a policy statement with them. Trustee McCowie on the motion.
Yeah, just kind of in response to Trustee Leclerc's comments, I do agree that it is divisive and a bit controversial, which is why I think it's imperative that we do get it right and we take the time, regardless of how long it might take or how uncomfortable it might make us feel, to engage with the proper stakeholders on both sides of the aisle and really make sure that we're doing what's in the best interest of our students. Again, to really reinforce that idea of building tomorrow together and just being all on the same page on this. So I appreciate the support of my colleagues to hopefully refer back and recognize that there's always more work that could be done.
Trustee Chin for the second time on the motion to refer.
Yes, my point is that I heard that Trustee Leclerc mentioned that is to protect the kids. And
Trustee Chin, please, we're talking about the motion to refer.
Yes,
Either you want to refer it back to the committee or
yes,
not.
I have the reason for referring back. What I mean is that the child is, the age of the child is very important, and for the very young child, they don't have their ability to make judgment and to make good decisions. And
Trustee
if
Chin,
we want to,
I'm sorry.
Point of
I'm
order.
sorry that Trustee Chin, that does not relate to the motion.
it's related to the motion because you give
not.
Trustee Leclerc enough time to speak his comment. I have my time. I have my right to be against what he
Trustee
said.
Chin?
That's important for the decision of the trustees.
Oh, I don't know. Do it. Okay. We're moving to the vote on the motion to refer. And I will just make a comment that I think that was an overwhelming motion to refer it back to the policy committee, and I think that it doesn't recognize the amount of work that has gone in here as to what administration needs to move forward. Maybe there's some room for some amendments here and there, but I just got the feeling that that the work of the committee has been ignored, or this wasn't brought in. It's just the way I'm reacting. I'm allowed. And the one thing that if it does go back, that I would suggest is that right after the first sentence, that we should add the definitions of gender identity and gender expression, because that's not included. And I think that just adding those definitions opens up all kinds of things in terms of understanding the regulation. So I did reach out to administration about that. I did get the official definitions, and I think that once they're included at the top of that, I was going to propose that as an amendment, but it doesn't matter now, because I think it would have given a lot more depth to what the policy committee has presented. But anyway, so Trustee Burgess.
I'm speaking out of order because usually the last, but for the first time, as a member of the policy committee, I remember asking some questions. I thought I had them answered completely. However, I think that if we do it a little more clearly so that I'm going to say the average person, like the average person can access it and link to the legislation, the points, so that they know that we're dealing with human rights, nothing that is an opinion. So I do support
okay.
it. I do support the referral back.
Okay.
And like my colleagues mentioned, I wouldn't mind any of this input on the content once we get there if this passes. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in support of the referral? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That carries. So this number 2 will be referred back to the committee. Number 3, that the board approve the policy and regulation trustee pregnancy, parental adoption, and infant child care leave as presented. Trustee Cook, Trustee McKinley. Any questions on this one? No. All those in support? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. The report you have in your package from the Finance and Facility Services Committee, pages 18 to 22. Anything on this one? Trustee Leclerc?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The report from Finance and Facilities is fairly straightforward. I don't anticipate there'll be any questions, but I thought it would be prudent, given the circumstances of some of the activities that are taking place, in our case, south of the border, for most of Canada, north of the border, with respect to tariffs. And a lot of municipalities and a lot of organizations have adopted changes in their procurement policy. And I just wanted to point out that on April 7th of this year, a memorandum was sent out to all the directors of education from the Deputy Minister of Education to inform boards that there is a new procurement policy which restricts the U.S. businesses from accessing public sector procurement in Ontario. There is a provision in certain circumstances where if a U.S.-based procurement is the only option, that it can be handled, but there are processes in place that require approval for that. So for those that are wondering what our procurement policy will be in light of the tariff situation, that we will be compliant with the ministry's directive that we restrict from purchasing through the United States. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Trustee McKinley, then Trustee Burgess.
Yeah, just for clarification, I understand that, but were we not already under a directive from the ministry regarding using Ontario first in addition? So is that layered on top?
Superintendent Armstrong?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Madam Chair, yes, the board was required, broader public sector entities are required to follow BOBBI, which is Building Ontario Businesses Initiatives, which required broader public sector entities like school boards to purchase first from Ontario vendors, then from Canadian vendors after that. It did not necessarily prohibit purchasing from a U.S. vendor, but certainly now that we have a new a policy in effect that restricts that now.
Trustee Burgess, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, for clarification, thanks, Madam Chair. I heard April 7th was the memo. Is it effective immediately? And do we have to include anything in our procurement policy or whatever, temporarily or permanently, to reflect the Canadian first? I know it's in Bobby, but do we need to do that? I'm just wondering.
So it was immediate, and it said that supporting materials would soon be provided to everyone.
And the other supplemental would be if there's something in the interim, something that was already underway and now like being tendered or something like that, and now a new thing is on top of it. Is there some way of handling that?
Superintendent Armstrong?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. If there's a contract that's already in place, then you would continue to follow a contract. If something has been tendered but not awarded, for example, then you would go back. You can't award it to a U.S. vendor. You'd have to go back.
Okay, anything else on the financial report? Any other questions? Yeah, nope, nope. But thanks for highlighting that. I think that was important for trustees to know. Item C is the Learning Equity and Wellbeing Committee, and you have a report. A report in your package, pages 23 to 29. Anything on that? Any questions? I just will point out that I did confirm with administration that moving forward, for all standing committees and any committee report, under attendance, it should identify the committee members present and then others that are present. The way that on page 28 at the top, it shows 5 trustees present, and it just to make it clear who the committee members are and who aren't. Yeah, so I just wanted to point that one out. Yep, question?
Question.
Yep. Trustee Leclerc?
Why would we report who was present that's a trustee who's not part of the committee?
Because we show everybody who was present at the meeting. But that's why it should be broken down because we show like who's attending from administration as well. So you show committee members present, others present, and then administration present. Yeah. As opposed to showing that there's 5 trustees.
So I don't understand what the purpose is, because as essentially what you're doing by reporting non-committee members who are showing up, they're only showing up as they're there as members of the public.
Yes.
They're not there as members, trustees.
And then we get into a little bit of an issue if a committee chair allows the visiting trustees to speak at the meeting, which can happen. So it just depends on how the meeting goes.
But what you're doing is you're creating a situation where it's going to look like, I'm more than happy to attend for my committee and do all the work that my committee does, and I have absolute faith and trust in the others that are doing their committee work.
We may or may.
Well, that's what I have.
So all I'm saying
that I'm not going to show up as attending learning because I have faith in the trustees that they're doing their work. So then somebody could.
Sorry, but
hold on.
Not
So
my point.
then somebody could then say, "Well, look, I've attended all these extra meetings." Well, you didn't have to. You weren't required to.
Right. All I'm saying is that the attendance should indicate the committee members present. Correct. Right. Whatever they want to do with the others, that's not the issue. It needs to say committee members present. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. Yep. Trustee Burgess?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to put a fine point on it, I like your idea of attaching the status to the names who are present. So in other words, voting members are members and others are others. But under the parliamentary authority that we adopt, the chair can recognize others at the discretion of the chair, and that recognition also can be appealed. So the mechanisms are all there. We're not inventing anything new, but I like your format.
Thank you. Well, I passed it on to administration. They can do what they want with it. I'm just letting you know that I picked that up from that page 28. There's no audit committee report. There is a SEAC report, pages 30 to 33. Any questions on that? 30 to 33. I had a couple questions if I could ask the members. It doesn't tell me anywhere. I'm not sure who the chair is.
It is Tim McCarthy. I am the vice chair. We alternate.
Right, that's
Trustee
why it's
and the-
important to identify who the chair is, and it's not
Is it not on
identified.
the minutes?
No. So
Okay.
that
I'll
was a
pass
question
that
I
along.
had. And the other question I had was with regard to, I understand, it makes perfect sense that uh, the part about where communication took place in November, reaching out to families with students that were currently in RISE last fall, and then that information was going to be shared back with SEAC, if I'm reading this correctly. And I know that it was something that trustees were interested in, so I just wanted to make sure that that information is going to come back to trustees too. Will that come through SEAC to trustees?
I believe it should when we get more details. We
Okay.
haven't. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
But there haven't been like a
So-
lot of specifics on what.
So that, anyway, that just, I
There's some
think,
stuff coming though, I think more.
I think it just proves the point of how valuable it is getting these reports now, because we might not have known that under the old system. So I really appreciate that this is happening. Okay, Trustee Burgess on the SEAC report.
Yes, ma'am. I'm wondering, usually on a cyclical basis, and I don't even know if it's annual, it's every whatever, we make an appeal to certain groups to join SEAC, to have a more robust
I
membership
think
on
it's when
SEAC.
there's vacancies.
It's only when there's vacancies? I thought it was an ongoing thing, because
I don't know.
sometimes we've had
I know.
organizations themselves that they lost their chapter, they don't have, but if it comes back, it would be great. It's not a vacancy if they don't exist, but I'm thinking way back, the Association for Bright Children, for example. But
Trustee McKinley?
When we have openings, then organization is able to contact us and go through the process that you go through to be on. Currently, there are some openings, but we don't have anybody breaking down the doors to join SEAC at this moment. But that, like you said, that's differing things with different organizations. Sometimes they don't have the volunteers to come to do a meeting. So for whatever reasons, currently we have less than 12 members as far as membership, and I believe 12 is the magic number. So if there was an organization and people contact me or ask me about it, I would say contact the superintendent of Spec Ed, and they would bring it to SEAC.
So supplemental, my point would be, it's not waiting for somebody to necessarily know about SEAC. It's an outreach piece. So that's all I would
I
put.
think
Thank you.
think we make that outreach attempt every year. Okay. Yeah. The director? It seems every year there are opportunities, so they do put it out. Okay. Nothing for GECPIC, nothing under advisory committees, ad hoc committees. Reports from trustees, that would be OPSPA. We're on P1. Trustee Burgess?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'll try to make it as brief as I can. But we do have a resolution, and so there will be action in my report, and you all have a copy of that resolution that will go forward, and Trustee McCowie would be presenting it, and I would be looking at it at the Board of Directors coming up. So, OPSPA, on April 5th, we held a Western Regional meeting at the Nuclear Innovation Institute and had a great day of learning. And we gave some provincial input on developing OPSPA work and held discussions on current items of common interest. And there were quite a few. So there was a lot of intake as well as professional development. It was generously hosted by Blue Water, and we were grateful for that. You might have gotten a draft minutes in that they were sent last Thursday. I draw your attention to those. They came from TJ Gertz, and they were sent on April 10th. And I would strongly suggest checking them out because they have a lot of information in them. We had some really great presenters. We had Keith Lefebvre, who's a superintendent of education, and part of his portfolio is student success. And since it was at the Nuclear Innovation Institute, which is sort of down the road from the Bruce Power plant, and lots of other different nuclear associated industries. It was just a fantastic opportunity to see how things like specialist high skills majors and co-op and placements, at within the industry were really making a difference in our students' lives. I noticed that he said that it being part of some of the job offers, if they were at the plant, they all had to get CSIS clearance, which I thought was rather amazing for a 17-year-old to go and, get that level of security clearance to participate. Security is an important thing. We also heard from Michelle McIver, high school co-op teacher, and I was amazed at the plethora of positions that they were able to offer a lot of kids on site. Michelle Gertz was there, and she's the manager of workforce development at the NII, where we were hosted. And this is an institute that has education at its core and outreach at its core, and to really have everybody understand what clean energy and nuclear energy looks like. And those community partnerships were really important because they offered world-class, state-of-the-art STEM placements and information in a rural and tourist area, which can be seasonal, etc. So it offered an opportunity for stable growth in an area, and it was an incredible thing to hear and see how it develops the whole region. You'll notice that in those draft minutes, I had a moment to give notice that Greater Essex County District School Board might be bringing a resolution. It was a thought, and I've had just a little preliminary chats with a few folks, and I bring it here. But I do want to say that we, in preliminary chats, do have a consensus for bringing this forward, and because we had the regional meeting, I had an opportunity to share it with Western region. Everybody was there except for John McGivney Center and School Authority. So it was unanimously, supported. So I think we will have some support at the annual meeting for it. But I want to read it now, and I would put it on the floor, and we have a vice chair, or the chair. There we go. So I would put it forward as a resolution, and I'm going to read it because it is a resolution. I want to formalize it, and there isn't a print attached within our agenda or anything, so I want to make sure that the public understands too. Be it resolved that OPSPA advocate directly to the provincial government, specifically the Ministry of Education, to amend Ontario Regulation 521/01, which is the collection of personal information under the Ed Act, by adding Section 2(1)(c) to explicitly include, quote, a member of the district school board, unquote. Be it further resolved that OPSPA advocate to the provincial government to amend Section 219(1) of the Education Act to explicitly require that a person qualified to be elected as a member of a district school board or school authority must, in addition to being an eligible voter per Section 10 of the Education Act, provide a current personal criminal history check, we usually know it as a police clearance, as required by the amended Ontario Regulation 521/01. Be it further resolved, oops, where'd we go? There we go, I lost the page. Be it further resolved that OPSPA communicate clearly to legislators at Queen's Park the importance of trustees modeling the standards expected of school board employees and service providers to ensure consistent and effective governance practices across all Ontario school boards. I would move that, Madam Chair.
Moved by Trustee Burgess, supported by Trustee McCauley. Any questions on the resolution? Trustee Leclerc?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I support this. I'm just wondering if consideration was given to, in addition to the personal criminal history check, or maybe you meant to include this, the vulnerable sector check as well. So is that what you intend by? Okay. I just want, because there's two, right? But you want it at the highest level. Vulnerable sector includes situations where you're exposed to children, which is obviously, although we're not necessarily exposed to children very often in our role. If we attend schools, we certainly are, and we have musicians from schools come, etc. Students come for Student of the Month, those types of things. So I think the vulnerable sector check is a good part of this. So I do support it.
Could to that, because it's a question, Madam Chair. It was considered, and we almost put it in the language, but OESC is generally the one that helps facilitate. I can't remember. I think it's like it's a division of OESC. I'm not sure what it is, but like kind of mass police clearances, and anything with the school board automatically is vulnerable sector. So it's.
I'm not sure
It's
that
not?
that's quite correct.
Oh, okay. Well then, there you go.
So the director could elaborate on that.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. So not everybody in the school board gets a vulnerable sector check. Used to was practice. Now, unless you're direct supervision of students. So for example, if someone applies to be a carpenter within the board, they would not require vulnerable sector because they're not direct supervision of children. That recently changed about a year ago. It's next to impossible to get one unless you're in direct supervision of a teacher. Some police departments still issue them, some don't.
So that was unknown when we put this together. For the purpose of the resolution, do we need to amend it or not? We want it to pass.
Well, I think that's not going to help you if you add that, Trustee Leclerc.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that we need to amend it, because I think if this gets to the point where the minister is involved, I'm sure the appropriate people involved will decide the level. But I just wanted to point out the importance of the vulnerable sector check. I know Windsor Police still does their own checks, so it's not a huge issue to get checks. But I also know that if your OPP has centralized theirs, and currently it's 6 months to get just a standard check. So there's some barriers to that. So I think it's fair to leave it where it's at, but I just wanted to articulate that.
And I just have one question, if I may, before we take the vote. So I want to know how this sits vis-a-vis the declaration that trustees have to declare about, not being disqualified under any act. So is this duplication of that?
Well, it's not a duplication. It would be included in the mandatory. There's two oaths or affirmations. One's mandatory, one's voluntary. The mandatory one is covered in the regulation of the Education Act that I referred to, and where it has a list of what you need to have, and that mandatory part would be in the regulation. So that when you take the mandatory act, you would be swearing or affirming that you have completed all the things that are necessary in order to assume office, not to run, not to be a candidate necessarily, not to be elected. But if you're clever, you're going to get the thing, because if you want to take office, you would need to produce it.
Okay, I'm going to call the vote. All in support of the resolution as presented? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you.
And as a follow-up, if I could ask what we need to do, since it's already submitted, the deadline was April 9th, and it was presented as don't have a board meeting yet. It has to be presented by the board. So, Madame Leboeuf, if you could inform OPSPA that, and yeah, thank you very much that happened. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There's no trustee motions under Q, R, no trustee notices of motion. Are there any announcements for this meeting? Trustee McKinley?
Yes, I'd just like to remind everyone that May 1st and May 2nd are our Day of Champions for our students with spec ed needs. And I'm looking forward to going, as I always do. It's one of the highlights for me to attend. So I hope the rest of you, I'm pretty sure everybody got an invite, and hope to see you there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else with an announcement? No? Then we've reached the end of our approved agenda, so I will declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.